Welcome back to the channel, you card nerds. We've got another mock check ride for you today, and believe it or not, this student, they went out and they spent some money. All right, they went and got a 2015 SR22 Turbo Cirrus. You know, the one with the parachute and all that jazz. 315 horsepower, 6-cylinder Continental with a service ceiling of 25,000 feet. Har, 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 har. All right, more airplane than, well, I can afford. And to be honest, it's a lot of airplane for a student pilot. It's a lot of airplane for a private pilot. It's a fast bird, and I could definitely see that it would be easy to get behind on that bird. But this student did what a lot of students do when they go out and buy an airplane to train in, especially when they say, nope, this is my forever bird. I'm never getting another airplane. I'm not doing anything else. This airplane checks all of my boxes. So I'm only gonna focus on training for this airplane. So they miss things that, well, the Cirrus kind of helps you with. Things like nav logs, things like weather, things like even a weight and balance. They kind of glossed over because, again, those are things that the Cirrus really helps you out a lot with. There's things in the multifunction display where you can even do a weight and balance in a Cirrus. You ain't got a hand jam, nothing, which is really nice. But remember, your certificate isn't an SR22 Turbo certificate. Your certificate isn't a Cessna 172 or a Piper Cherokee certificate. It is a private pilot certificate, meaning you can hop into a Cirrus and fly from California to New York City as long as you've got the appropriate endorsements for the performance of that aircraft. But it also says that you can legally hop into an Aeronca Champ from 1946 and do that exact same thing. So we need to make sure that you're capable of doing that same ridiculously long journey in whether it be the airplane you're currently training in or the possibility that you'll go fly a 172, you'll go fly an Aeronca Champ, because that's what your certificate allows you to do. So welcome back to the mock check rides. Sorry we haven't been posting them for a while because I've just been busy. But let's roll the check ride. Recording. Since we did hit those record buttons, I do want to ask, just to make sure it's on recording, so there's not really any question about it. Are you okay with us using this mock check ride, whether it be for content creation on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc.?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, flying an SR22 Turbo, getting your private pilot in that, how has that been? I mean, that's a pretty big, that's a lot of bird for a private pilot, if we're gonna be honest.
Yeah, so I have an interesting story. It took me 3 years to get my medical. So I decided I was going to get into aviation, ended up going on one of the test drives in a brand new SR22. And dude, those guys are so good at selling stuff to new pilots. I remember my big concern with them was, can I take me and 4 buddies to go golfing? And I didn't know what a weight and balance was, so no, I didn't even know about that. I'm just like, can you fit the golf clubs in the back? And the guy's like, yeah, man, check this out. You can take all the golf clubs out, put the bags in crossways, and then set all the clubs on. You just have to put them back. And he's like, sweet. So I buy this plane, sign up for lessons, and I'm flying a Cherokee. And one of the first things, I asked if my brother could come along in the back, and he's like, hey, do a weight and balance. And dude, in a Cherokee, you can't, you can barely have to the tabs. And then I learned what a weight and balance was, and I realized like this plane, you could put 4 people in there and some golf clubs, but you'd have like 5 gallons of gas. So that always kind of torqued me off. But anyways, long story short, I ended up buying a used one. While I'm waiting for the new one to show up, Lindsay, our sales rep, decided to pick me up and take us all the way to Oregon to pick it up. And we had partial engine failure in that thing. So, dude, it's been a wild ride. I literally had almost just given up. I had like 80 hours flying with my instructor in the Cirrus, and he's like, "Look, let's just wait until you get your medical." And I hadn't heard from him for a year, so I'd kind of just given up on it. And then one day, I got a letter that I actually threw away. And then next thing you know, I'm going in, I see the FAA on the top, and I've got plenty of letters from them, but they changed their format. It looked like it was junk mail. And I opened it up, and it said I was approved. So
That
I
is
started
awesome.
flying again, and so I said, like, I have like 120 hours. It's still a lot of playing. Like the first time he told me that I was going to go on a solo, I was like, oh, I was freaking out. But it worked out. So I'm super conservative. I've canceled lots of flights because I'm like, maybe my emotions aren't in the right way. Like I'm my whole life I haven't been on like very conservative, but after that engine failure and then watching how they handled it and staying cool, I respect the checklist. If the weather's even iffy, no go. So
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know that there's a, you hear through, as you continue on in your aviation experience, you'll hear a lot of people, kind of poke fun at Cirrus pilots because there is a little, oh, how do I want to put it? I think a lot of the stigma is people trying to make fun of Cirrus pilots because they genuinely can't afford a Cirrus. Um, but there's been some stories of just stuff getting out of hand because it's a lot of plane for sometimes not a lot of training. So it's nice to hear. It's a little bit refreshing to hear from a Cirrus pilot. Like, no, I'm super conservative. Not over relying on the fact that the airplane is, for lack of a better way to put it, awesome. A Cirrus has amazing equipment in it. Especially with the engine that you've got in yours and the avionics, and I mean, for heaven's sakes, a parachute. Uh,
yeah,
so that's awesome. You got your medical back. I know. I know firsthand that fight. It took me. I'd been flying for like a decade, and then it took me a little over 2 years to get my medical back
really.
after I lost it. And it was, yeah, it's a fight. It's a fight. So when you get that letter saying, "Hey, you're approved. Here's your medical back. You can continue on with your
Ooh,
career or whatever you're doing," you just like as soon as I got that letter, the first thing I did was went and flew my airplane. Like,
awesome, dude.
yeah.
Did you have to go to a him psychologist?
Yep, I had to go through the whole HIMSS process. I mean, it wasn't for alcoholism or substance abuse or anything like that, but yeah, it was a fight. It was a long fight. But now we're back. We're flying. You're flying a Cirrus,
Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
and congratulations. So hopefully, after this, mock check ride, we can go through what we need to go through. Make sure with your 120 hours, you've checked all your boxes, you got all the knowledge that you need to go off and be a safe pilot, right? All right. So every check ride, no matter whether it's going to be private pilot. Well, I guess let me ask, like, what's the end goal? Private pilot, instrument, commercial?
So I just fly recreational, but I'd like to keep the momentum going afterwards and get my instrument. I've been with my instructor and got like I hear so many accident reports where they inadvertently get into the clouds, and I'm like, just pay attention to your instruments. And we did it the other day, and I was paying attention to my instruments, but I kept like when we were banked at 45 degrees, I felt like we were straight and level, and like I got spatially disoriented in a hurry. And he wouldn't let me hit the autopilot. He'd make me work my way through it, and it was just a lot. So imagining that on top of, confessing to the local ATC. If I'd have been by myself, I don't know. Obviously, I would have hit the autopilot, but I would like to at least get my instrument afterwards. Just continue learning all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean
keep
eh,
pushing myself.
that's what I recommend to everybody. At the very least, if you're not gonna go commercially, at the very least, go get your instrument, right? Make sure you're going to be able to, and I mean, I don't even say get your instrument so that you can make sure that you can get places. I say get your instrument so you can get home, or in the event that you need to go into instrument conditions, you've
Yeah,
got it, right? Like, I've got a seaplane that it is an instrument animal. Like, it can handle, sure, it's no Cirrus, but for a general aviation airplane, it is a solid instrument platform. I don't use it to go places instrument. I use it to ensure that I can get home, right? And I
yeah,
feel like that's a
yeah.
that's really what a lot of people should be focusing. Use it, have it as a backup, and make sure you stay current. But planning to be in bad weather is just never the first plan,
I
right?
agree. I mean,
Um,
I get the staying proficient thing because I ended up taking a whole year off and I went flying with my brother. He stays proficient, he's always doing everything. And he just handed the plane over to me. Dude, I hadn't flown for a year and I got behind so quick. And before that, I felt like I was, as on top of it as you can be for, a student pilot. And right away, I got so far behind. It was so humbling. So, yeah, I realized like I don't just get my license and then go flying every now and then. Got to stay on top of it.
Yep, and that's where a lot of the Cirrus pilots end up in trouble. Is they have a really cool airplane, they have a really nice airplane, but they also have a Mercedes, so they drive their Mercedes 90% of the time, and then periodically they pull their their Cirrus out of the hangar and go, "I'm going to go into hard IFR on a 6-hour cross country."
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
You know, jokes all jokes aside, right? Um, Now, every check ride, right, it's going to have 3 possible outcomes. You're going to have satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and incomplete. Satisfactory really just means that you're within inside the standards. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't momentarily fall outside the standards. In every designated pilot examiner handbook, it says perfection is not the expectation. We expect you to be a safe pilot. So if you make a mistake, you're able to recognize that mistake and apply a prompt and appropriate correction to get yourself back within the standards, right? So if you drop 10 feet low on steep turns, you know, you recognize it, you apply the correction, and you get back up to the altitude that you need to be. The only one that doesn't really have a whole lot of wiggle room is that short field landing, right? If you land short of your point, that's effectively landing in the dirt. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, I heard you have like a 200-foot tolerance, but that must be only after the 1,000-foot lines.
Well, it's after your
Okay.
intended point of landing, right? Because with a short field landing, what we're
Okay.
trying to simulate is
But
your
before is a wreck, so you're done.
yeah,
Okay.
before is the dirt, right?
Yep. Okay. Got it.
Then we've got
Yep.
unsatisfactory. That really just means that you didn't meet the standards, right? You were consistently outside the standards. You're a danger to yourself or the national airspace system. You know, you aren't ready to be a pilot. Okay. Then we've got incomplete. This is things for like weather, aircraft airworthiness. Not saying that you failed to do an appropriate pre-flight, but like you did a pre-flight and you found something that makes the aircraft unairworthy. Now we're not going to go fly. But if you try to continue on with the check ride with an aircraft that's unairworthy, obviously that would be unsatisfactory. An example that I use from a DPE up near me, the student pilot tried to take off with the avionics update in progress page still displayed over all of the instrumentation. So
No go, huh?
obviously that's a pretty big no-go, right? Now, if you go out to the airplane and the airplane says avionics update in progress and it just never finishes, and you're like, hey, DPE, I don't think we're going to be able to go today. For some reason, the avionics aren't finishing their update. I'm going to call maintenance. That would be an incomplete. We understand the differences?
Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
I'm following you. Yep.
Awesome. Last question DPE is going to ask before they dig into any real systems or any real questions associated with the ACS is, well, have you read the ACS and you understand the standards that you're being held to?
Yes.
Awesome. And I always say, make sure, don't just read like the private pilot section, read it kind of cover to cover. Sure, there's going to be stuff that doesn't necessarily apply to you, but there's some special emphasis areas in there as well that aren't just in that little chart in the back saying, hey, you got to do X, Y, and Z for your check ride.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm following you.
Awesome. Now, I like to dig into systems really because, if you don't know your airplane, I don't want to get in it with you.
Okay. Fair.
Right. So what can you tell me? Just give me like a general overview of this airplane. What's the power plant in it? What can you accomplish in it? Tell me about your airplane, kind of like we're having a conversation about it.
It's got a Continental 550 PSIO, so it's twin turbocharged, injected, horizontally opposed, 315 horsepower. It's got a 3-blade, I always butcher the name, Hartzell composite prop, 82 inches. And um, let's see, like the controls, ailerons, rudder is all a pulley cable and rod system. Everything's like really redundant. So if one of the cables goes, you could use your trim to fly with. I don't think that'd be very fun, but it's possible. And your autopilot would actually still work. Um, it's got the Garmin G1000s in it. And what am I missing here?
I mean, that seems pretty solid. It seems like more than
Guess
what
we could
most
cover the
students.
caps. It's got a
Yeah,
yeah,
that's more than what most students know about
a parachute.
the airplane they're training in. Um, let's dig a little bit into that engine. You said it's a PSIO or TSIO. Sorry, TSIO.
Yes, I.
So
Yep.
it's turbocharged. What can you tell me about like what does that even mean? What does a turbocharged engine mean?
Um, It takes air from the exhaust and forces it back in, so more oxygen equals more power. That's what gives the plane the ability to go into like the over 18,000 feet when the air becomes less dense.
All right.
So, uh, more horsepower and more capabilities, more things to go wrong.
Yeah, more things to break. Now it's not shoving exhaust back in. Let me.
Or the exhaust spins a turbine and then it gets fresh air from one of the ports, correct?
Yep. So the exhaust spins the turbine, and then turbine has a compressor
Okay.
blade on the other side. Here, we'll draw the picture anyway, just to make sure. So a turbocharger, it's going to have a hot side and a cold side, right? So the hot side, we'll just draw a little box over here. And this is like where the exhaust comes in and it spins a little turbine, right? We'll throw some blades on this turbine, right? So you got a little arrow. It spins this turbine. Well, this turbine is then connected via a shaft to the cold side of the turbocharger, right? And on the cold side of the turbocharger, we have a compressor blade, which, it's kind of the same idea. Instead of air pushing on it to spin it, again, we'll throw some blades on it and stuff. It's going to suck cold air in, usually through like a fresh air intake. It's going to spin it against the side of the housing. It's going to compress it, and then it's going to shove it into your engine. All right, usually through some kind of intercooler to help cool the air down. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Yep. I like that explanation.
Now, can you control this turbocharger?
No.
No, there's no control of it. So how does the turbocharger maintain the appropriate pressure? Like what's going on under the hood, or under the cowling, I should say, to ensure that you don't blow up your engine by pushing too much air into it?
That's a good question. Um, Maybe since it's a constant speed prop, we're not getting out of hand.
So the constant speed prop just maintains
I
the
guess
RPM, right?
maybe it maintains the RPM. So at the same RPMs, you're not going to get like an overload into there.
So really what all it uses is it uses a little um it's using a
Meter
hose that's
valve.
connected. It's using a hose that's connected right near your throttle inlet that's
Okay.
measuring the pressure there. Because that's where the pressure's
Okay.
going, is at your throttle inlet.
Yeah.
It's going to measure to try and maintain. I'm not sure exactly what it's trying to maintain. Let's just say it's trying to maintain 2992, right? If it sees
Yeah.
more than 2992, it pushes that pressure through that little tube to open a little valve to let pressure out.
Okay.
Does that
I
make
got it.
sense?
Kind of like on an air compressor, if it reaches too much PSI, it starts going through the bleeder valve. Okay.
It,
Yeah, that does make sense.
almost exactly like a compressor. Well, because that's what it is. It's a
Yeah.
exhaust gas driven compressor.
Okay. I'm following you. Okay.
Awesome. Um,
Those are good questions.
Now tell me about that constant speed prop. You said it maintains a specific RPM. Um, how is it maintaining a specific RPM?
It's maintaining it by changing the angle of attack on the propeller. Unlike some airplanes, I don't have to adjust that though. That's just actually tied in to the throttle.
Okay. Um, let's say, so it is changing the angle of attack, but I'm trying to word it in a way that makes sense with a Cirrus, because again, as you said, you don't have a way to control it, right? It's tied in with the linkage. Um,
It has like a centrifugal force with oil. I'm not going to do a great job of explaining this, but as the centrifugal force gets faster, it moves it out and it changes the angle of attack on the blades.
okay. So let's say you're
I guess that
flat.
would be the governor.
Yeah, the governor. The governor. Awesome. Now, let's say you're flying around, fat, dumb, and happy, and then you decide to descend. So you add a little bit of trim down. You don't reduce power because you want to speed up, right? But you want to speed up in your descent. Tell me what's happening, because the airplane, let's say it wants to maintain 2,300 RPM. You trim down, so you start to speed up. What happens to the propeller as you start to speed up?
It's going to lower the angle of attack.
Is it going to lower the angle of attack? Let's think of it as like a car. If I
So
roll a car downhill, is it going to speed up?
yeah, it's going to speed up. So it's not going to need as high of an angle attack to keep the RPM. So I guess in my head, I feel like it would. I can tell by the way you're looking at me, it's the opposite of that, but it's not clicking here.
Yeah, so we'll go back to Microsoft Paint and just draw it out. Right? That's the
All
whole
right.
that's the whole point of these. There we go. So if I'm flying around, I'll try and draw a Cirrus. That's mildly Cirrus shaped.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, we got a wing, we got a tail. All right, then we have a propeller on the front. Okay, so as I'm just flying along, fat, dumb, and happy, I set my RPM, meaning the airplane has set an angle of attack on this blade that works. Okay, it's fighting against so much air that it's able to hold this specific manifold pressure and hold this specific RPM. So as I pitch this airplane down, the airplane's going to start falling, right? Meaning it's going to be moving through the air faster. Well, as I'm moving through the air faster, the blade is going to start spinning up. It's going to start going faster. You've flown an Archer, right?
I'm following you. Yeah, because if it was higher, the RPMs would just get out of hand and go. No, I have a
Exactly.
better nurture.
Say again?
Okay, yep, I'm following you there. What did you say? Did you ask me if I've been an Archer?
I know
What
you
was that
said you had
question?
been in some smaller Piper product, right? An
Oh,
Archer?
Cherokee.
Cherokee, that's
Cherokee,
what it
yeah.
is. So you remember back when you flew the Cherokee, you pitch down, what does the RPM want to do?
Wants to go up.
Wants to go up. So let's say we have a constant speed prop on it, the RPM's trying to go up. How do we slow the propeller down?
I got you. Yep, that makes perfect sense to me now. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know it gets a little like with the Cirrus, it's a little harder to kind of imagine it because you don't have control of that blue lever to actually like make the change. Right?
Right. No, that was good stuff. I like the way you explained that. That clicked. Thank you.
Of course, of course, of course. Now, let's talk a little bit about how your airplane is made because it's not made in the same way as most airplanes, right? It's composite material,
Right.
right? So what are some of the concerns associated with a composite airplane that you wouldn't necessarily be concerned about, which is like a, metal airplane?
I don't know. I haven't gone over this, but I would imagine, I know like when they're doing the annual, they'll check for like stress cracks.
Okay, so stress fractures. Let's
And
say let's say you accidentally spill like some oil on the airplane and you forget to clean it up. Is there any kind of concern associated with this?
I don't know, because the drip line underneath the engine is always dropping a little bit when you're flying. It just covers the belly, and it seems like it's fine. It's a pain in the butt to get off, but yeah, I could see. Let's say like you poured lacquer thin on or something. If it goes through the paint, it could actually um, eat into the composite, which could compromise the structural integrity of the airplane.
Yeah, have you ever heard of delamination?
Yeah, like I've heard delamination on paint, so I'm sure it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, so I mean, the Pilot's Handbook of
Molecule
Aeronautical
starts to
Knowledge
split apart.
actually has a couple pages on it. We'll just because I want to bring it up because like if you drop a wrench or something on it, PAC,
Yeah.
Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical
I know a lady
Knowledge.
that got a bullet hole coming out of Oshkosh last year in the bottom of her wing.
God, and that was in a
Pretty serious.
Cirrus.
Yeah, yeah, they found it the next day doing a pre-flight. And it didn't get into the tank. It just hit the perfect spot, I think, in between the wing collector and the actual tank. So
So this is just what I want to bring up
yeah.
because it's a
What page are you on?
on the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge is 3-11.
3-11. Okay.
Yep. And again, I just want to bring it up because it is a possibility with a composite aircraft, right? So you get like a low
Yep.
energy impact. Let's say you dropped a can of soda or a golf club. You dropped a golf club on the wing, right? You start to notice like a small crack on the top layer. Well, that's not saying that that's the only thing that's now wrong with this airplane. You can see it can start to have this pyramid effect as it goes down. You have an even bigger one. Let's say you dropped a whole golf bag on your wing, so you've got an actual indentation as opposed to just like this small little crack. We can start to see as it's getting a whole lot more tearing and damage on the back side of it. And obviously, bullet hole, as we kind of talked about earlier. You get the separations between the layers.
I'm following. So it's like an iceberg. You're only seeing the tip of it.
Exactly. Now, if you ding it, and look, they even use a Cirrus as an example in the book, right? Now, we have something like
So
a
I guess how would you just have like if you notice something on your pre-flight that looked like a small little dent, you can just know that it could be bigger and have it looked at?
yeah, that's what I would do because what they're going to do is they're going to use depending on where you take it to, they can use like the almost like radar, almost like ground penetrating radar to actually measure like is there delaminations in there because obviously, if you it's kind of like when you're looking for like a stud by knocking on the wall and you hear it differently. Same kind of idea, right? They
Okay.
use a radar and it's effectively knocking on your wing with a radar. And if they get a little echo return, like in this little pocket, they're like, no, there's delamination in there.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just little
Yeah, I'm
things.
following you. That's the first time I've seen. Yeah, that's good stuff to know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, you've even got a whole section right here fluid spills on composites. Some owners are concerned about fuel, hydraulic fluid. They're generally not a problem with modern composites. Usually, if the spill does not attack the paint, it won't hurt the underlying composites. So if it's not damaging the paint, you're probably going to be fine. But these are the things that I'm kind of concerned about, dropping a golf ball, dropping a golf bag. But again, I feel like you probably got to drop it pretty damn hard for you to be genuinely concerned. But just be on the lookout for stuff like that. It might seem like a small little ding, small little dent, but a small dent on a composite aircraft can be a whole lot bigger. Awesome.
Yeah, good to know.
Now, is there any hydraulics on this aircraft?
The brakes.
Yep, brakes are really the only hydraulics. What are we looking for to make sure that our brakes are in solid shape?
I know mine has like a little tab on it that'll start making a squeaking noise if you go past a certain point. We actually have like a mirror on a stick that we can go down and kind of look at it, but I've had better luck with like sticking my phone in there, taking a picture, and then put it up. But like making sure you actually have pad left.
Yep, making sure you
You're not
actually
getting
have
to the
pad
actual
left.
metal part of it.
Let's say you came out to the airplane. There's a little bit of like red. Almost, it looks like somebody might have like left a popsicle next to your wheels. There's a little bit of red fluid on the ground. Where might that have came from?
That happened to me once before, and it ended up being my brother had parked his truck in the hangar and it was leaking transmission fluid, but freaked me out. But that would be the brake fluid.
Yep, that would be brake fluid. Now, let's say you noticed a brake fluid leak, called the maintenance. They came out, they fixed it. Airplane's not leaking. Maintenance just hands you a bottle of brake fluid. Is it legal? I'm not necessarily saying do you know how, but is it legal for you to just top up this brake fluid?
Hmm?
It
Yes.
sure is. It sure is.
You can
Awesome.
even replace the brake lines with like prefabricated brake lines.
Is it brake lines as well? Where could I
I
find that
think so.
information?
There's like that is a let me tell you. Part 43
Okay, so part 43. Awesome. Where in part 43?
in preventative maintenance. Fuel lines, you are correct. It's replacing prefabricated fuel lines.
Awesome. Awesome.
Actually, I heard that on the mock pilot check ride that I had watched on yours, and I was like, no way, and I had to go check it out.
Yeah, what you might have
But we wanted
noticed.
to go ahead.
I was saying what you might have noticed is right here, 21 in this says replacing any hose connections except hydraulic connections.
Okay. So we can't replace a hose, but we can do the fluids, replenish fluids.
Yep, you can replenish fluids and replace prefabricated fuel lines.
That seems kind of funny that you could do the fuel lines, but not. Okay.
Uh, there's all kinds of stuff in here like um what was it? There's like you can replace like parts of the skin of an airplane as long as it doesn't impact the structural or aerodynamic qualities of the airplane. I'm like that seems odd.
Well, I'll tell you what you can't do. We wanted to recharge the air conditioning in the plane, and it's an independent system from the motor. But I went through it. It looks like you can't do that. You can't put new fluids in the air conditioning.
Well, because it's not a
I guess
fluid.
the gas.
Yeah, it's a gas. You're recharging a high pressure system,
So
right?
you would concur you can't recharge the AC?
Nope, because
Yeah.
let's look through it. Preventative maintenance, removal and installation of landing gear tires, elastic shock absorbers, servicing landing gears by adding oil, air, or both, servicing landing gear, replacing defective safety wire cotters, lubrication that doesn't require disassembly or removal of non-structural items, simple fabric patches, replenishing hydraulic fluid, refinishing decorative coatings, um, preservative, protective material, repairing upholstery, small simple repairs to fairings, non-structural cover plates, cowlings, small patches, reinforcements, not changing the contour to interfere with proper airflow, replacing windows, replacing safety belts, which seems, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable replacing the safety belts in yours because it's got, what's so special about your safety belts?
Airbags. They have airbags.
They do have airbags. Awesome. One of the other weird things is like troubleshooting and repairing broken circuits in the landing light wiring circuit. That is the only electrical circuit that you as a private pilot are allowed to do anything with. But nowhere in here does it say that you can, recharge an air conditioning system. Right?
Yeah.
Now, of
Yeah.
course, like anybody who's turned wrenches on a car, like we know how to fucking charge an AC system. But you really want to roll those dice on your airplane.
Right. Following you. Yep.
Awesome. Let's get back into, where did it go? 7,000 tabs open and not sure which one's what. Now your airplane, it's a little different than some other ones when it comes to its electrical system. So what can you tell me about the electrical system in this airplane that makes it a little bit more unique?
Did you get the POH that I sent you, by the way?
Yes. Is there,
Oh.
I'm
Dude,
looking through section
there's a
7.
page on it, and it's so confusing to follow. It looks like a maze. Um, so we have two alternators. We have alternator 2, which is a 100 amp, 28.75, and it's belt driven. And then we have alternator 1, which is 28 volts, 100 amp, and it is gear driven.
Okay. So you've got two alternators.
And yep.
Awesome. What are you going to lose anything if alternator 1 dies?
If alternator 1 dies, you could. Because if you just lost alternator 1, that's not the case because let's see, alternator 1 dies. Yeah, you're gonna lose main distribution bus 1 eventually. I mean, you're gonna have a half an hour, and you could start going through the process and shut down anything that's not essential. So let's say after the battery dies, you could lose like your landing lights, your um, yaw dampener, a couple cameras, your USB power port, and your AC and heat.
Okay.
However, if you reverse that situation and you only lose alternator 1, you can actually keep everything going off for alternator 2.
Did you get those backwards that you only lose alternator 2?
You're correct.
Okay.
So if we lose alternator 2, yeah, if we lose alternate, no, I take that back. If you lose alternator 2, you could still lose your main bus 1 with everything we just talked about, but you'd still have your main distribution bus 2 and your essential distribution bus.
Okay, so let's just take a look at this just to make sure we're kind of following the same page. Because you've got a couple different wiring diagrams in here. So we've got wiring diagram 1, all right, which is serial number 0442 through 656 and 658 through 689. So what serial number is your Cirrus?
1, 2, 2, 3.
1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, so with it being 1, 2, 2, 3, and subsequent. Yep, serial 657, 690, and subsequent. So you're going to be on the second one. So let's say we're here at alternator 1. Let's say alternator 1 works fine. We're going to focus on alternator 2. Other way around. We're going to say we're losing alternator 1 because that's our primary one, right? So that's the one that's going to be getting used more often. So if one's going to die, it's going to be 1. Would you agree?
Yeah.
All right. So we lose alternator 1, meaning main distribution bus dead. Okay. We're not, we'll pretend battery's not involved or anything like that. You know what page I'm on?
So main distribution bus 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So main distribution bus 1, we lose our landing light right away. Nothing else provides power to the landing light. All right. So landing light, it's gone. Now let's just follow the wires, see where they go. Okay. Looks like if we follow this wire for main distribution bus 1, that 30 amp breaker, looks like we're going to lose our recognition light, right? So we're going to lose the fact that our lights blink above a certain speed. We're going to lose our yaw servo. I know you called it a yaw dampener. It's not a yaw dampener. It doesn't make the rudder wet. It just dampens out. So it's a damper. Yaw damper, not yaw dampener. I don't want the DP to be like, well, it's technically, according to, right? But we're going to lose main bus 3. Okay. So we can, instead of like, hey, we're going to lose blah, 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 blah. If we lose alternator 1, it's landing light, main bus 3. Let's follow another one. We're going to lose what looks like our air conditioning bus.
Yep.
Right. And yep, alternator 1 feeds right back up into there. Yep, alternator 1 relay. Then we're going to follow another wire. And we're going to lose AC bus 2. Right? AC as in air conditioning, not alternating current. And then main bus, this 50 amp one goes into the essential bus distribution, but we can see the essential distribution bus is also powered by main bus 2.
Yep.
All right. So let's start back over. If we lose alternator 1, what are we going to lose? We're going to lose our landing light, our main bus 3, AC bus 1 and 2.
Yep.
Okay. Have we lost anything that would make it dangerous for us to continue to fly?
No.
Okay. I'm happy with that. We're going to continue on to our destination. Would you agree?
Yeah.
All right. Now let's say you
I'm closely monitoring to make sure everything's kosher with alternator 2.
Of course, making sure that everything's still square. But I mean, we still have things like our ice protection. We still have our MFD. We still have our autopilot. We have most of the airplane. Like the things you might notice is like, why is my iPad not charging? It got kind of hot up here. Oh crap, looks like alternator 1 died. Right. Okay. Now I got to ask, let's say you came out to the airplane and alternator 1 just wouldn't boot up, right? You started the airplane and you're looking over at alternator 1, you're seeing no voltage coming up on it. It's just dead. It won't start. Can we take off in this situation?
During the day?
Yeah, during the day. Let's say.
So I guess we'd have to check our kinds of operation.
All right, let's go check.
But as far as what's that?
Let's go check then. Let's this is the scenario that we got to the airplane, alternator 1 is dead. Is it legal for us to take off?
Okay. It's going to be on limitations on 12. Okay, so which alternator are we losing?
Alternator 1.
Alternator 1, we can fly during day and night.
Okay. So our kinds of operation equipment list. Our KOEL, our kinds of operation equipment list, says that it's safe to fly. All right. Is there anything else that needs to be done?
We'd want to go through the scarring on inoperative equipment.
Okay.
And basically we could go through the tomato flames, and unless you're on flying night, it's not going to be part of the required equipment.
Now, let's go back to that KOEL. I want to make sure we're kind of on the same page. So this aircraft is equipped with the following approved, VFR day and night, IFR day and night. The following list summarizes the equipment required under the Federal Aviation Regulations, Part 23 Airworthiness, listed for the kinds of operation. Those minimum items of equipment are necessary under Part 91 and 135. All references, type of flight, operating limitations, placard are based upon the equipment installed at the time of airworthiness certificate. So if it has a 1 next to it, is that required or not required?
If it has a 1, it is required. So I was backwards on you. So yes,
Okay.
you must have it.
All right. So we can see right there, alternator 1 is.
You must have alternator 1. Alternator 2, you could get away in the day.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm following you. Yes.
Now, let's say alternator 2 is our dead one. You're saying it's legal based on the kinds of operation equipment list for us to take off in day VFR and night VFR. So like all of your flying right now, just as a private pilot, it's legal to operate without alternator 2. Would you agree?
No, apparently I'm not getting it right. So if you look at alternator 2, it's got the little dash there. So I would interpret that as you have to have it during the day, or excuse me. Yeah. Okay. I got it backwards here. So the dash, if there's a 1, it means you must have it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're okay on alternator 2 during the day, or VFR day. Okay, I see it. It's the IFR at the top. Okay. So
Yep.
as long as you're not following IFR, you're good. I'm following you now.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that needs to be done? You started up the airplane, alternator 2 won't come on. You looked through your KOEL. KOEL says we're good to go. Is there anything else that needs to get done to ensure that this plane is still legal to operate, or can you just full send it, give her the beans?
Need to mark it as inoperative.
Okay. Can you, as a private pilot, mark it as inoperative?
Ooh. I'm gonna go probably not.
No, because remember we looked at Part 43, Appendix A. All right, is anywhere in this list of preventative maintenance, does it say anything about disabling alternators, pulling circuit breakers, or anything like that?
Yeah, I believe it does. You do have to pull the circuit, right?
Yep, because that's the requirement of part 91205 is that if you do find broken equipment and it is deemed that it's safe and the pilot says it's going to be safe, it needs to be disabled and placarded. Is there anything in part 43 that says you are allowed to disable an alternator as a pilot?
Oh, it doesn't. You'd have to have a mechanic do that, even
Okay.
though it's super simple.
Even though it's super I know. The FAA actually put out like an opinion piece on it, and the way that they explained it is, do you know what's on that alternator circuit breaker?
An alternator?
No.
I guess maybe
The
maybe
idea
there's
is
something else
that
on there as well.
the idea is that you're not sure. You don't know what's on it, right? Because remember, this book is written with a brand new Cirrus in mind. All right. I know my airplane's a whole lot older and a lot worse shape than a newer Cirrus. But my wiring diagram shows that radio 1 circuit breaker only powers radio 1. Well, my ADS-B and transponder is on that circuit breaker too. I don't know that.
I gotcha. So I could disable the alternator and not have my autopilot and comp one or something.
Exactly, exactly. So the idea is that we need to have maintenance disable, even though it seems like a super simple disablement. You as just a pilot, I hate to use the term just a pilot, but you as just a pilot might not be exactly sure what other systems you're going to lose if you were to disable the inoperative equipment.
Okay, so I gotta have my mechanic come down, confirm that there's nothing else on there, disable the circuit breaker, and then for an alternator, it's just like a post-it note that I'm putting somewhere, or like where would I even put that for an alternator?
It really, since there's not really any guidance for it. Really, what you're just going to do is you're going to make it evident. You're going to make it clear. A lot of people say put it next to the switch or on the switch that would activate it, right? When my
Yep.
second radio died in my airplane, again, my mechanic came out, pulled the circuit breaker, put a zip tie around the circuit breaker so I couldn't put it back in, and then over the label, just right above the label for COM2, we put inop, and we also put inop on the actual radio itself. I know you in a Cirrus, you've got like all the screens and stuff, so that might you don't want to put a sticker on your screen. So it was in two places. Like I wouldn't feel the you go to the switch, go to turn it on. Oh wait,
Which makes sense. Yeah,
right?
yeah, because I mean, you're gonna have to go turn it on and then realize, okay, well, that's not gonna do anything. Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Awesome. So we understand it. You seem to have a pretty solid understanding of the systems of your airplane. You do seem to have a pretty solid understanding of. I mean, I would read through the KOEL a little bit more and just kind of run through those scenarios. Like, hey, this one's broken. Let me go find it and make sure you understand. Remember, 1 is the number required for it to be airworthy. All right. It would have
Yep,
made
if it's
more
got that
sense if
minus sign.
it would have made more sense if they would have put a 0 there, because like number required for dispatch is what I'm
Right.
looking.
Yeah, no, I just had that completely backwards, and then up at the top where it's separated to IFR, I thought that was nighttime. So yeah, I'm following you now. It makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Um, yeah,
Here's
this
a
is.
here's a question.
Mhm.
If you look at that same list, if you still have it up, you'll see something like if you look at circuit breakers, it says AR as required. What does that mean?
Um, so is the underlying system required?
Okay,
Right?
so just go back through the process again.
Yeah. So altitude encoder, um, as required. Yeah, I think that was altitude encoder is the one that you were talking about. This
It
one
was
right
actually
here.
looking at circuit breakers. It says as required. So I guess I would interpret that as let's say that the AC circuit breaker was inoperative. I would still be legal to fly because we don't need an air conditioner to be legal to fly, right?
It, the way I would view that as required when associated with circuit breakers, because if a circuit breaker isn't functioning properly, that could lead to a fire, right?
Okay.
Right. But let's say the underlying system is disabled. So we'll go back to the alternator one that we were looking at, right? Alternator 2. Well, we're gonna have to pull the circuit breaker, right? Well, if I put a zip tie around that circuit breaker is now inoperative. Like I cannot manipulate that circuit breaker. Well, it's not required because I've disabled it because alternator 2 is disabled.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Um, restraint system. Well, let's say it's only you flying in the airplane. Well, I don't need the other 3 restraint systems if it's only me in the airplane, right? Um,
Yep.
circuit breakers, yeah, we talked about that one. Awesome. All right. It's pretty solid understanding of your airplane. The KOEL we were a little shaky on, so I definitely try and build some scenarios. Let's pretend something. Every time you do a pre-flight, right? Pretend you find something broken and go reference the KOEL. Okay?
Okay.
Is there any other places that I might want to look to verify that my airplane's legal to operate if something's broken?
So we already looked at the FAR aim and the KOEL.
Well, the FAR aim
I
kind of
know
is
the
what directs us to go look at the other things.
right. I know the pilot in command needs to make a judgment call. That's the final thing.
Yep, that's
Um,
the final thing. Um, What about,
Are you talking about like ADs?
well, ADs can definitely say that certain items need to be operable. Is there
Right.
any ADs for
Okay.
your airplane?
Um, there are a couple. I'm signed up with the FAA. If anything new comes, they send me an email, and then the mechanic checks it when he's working on it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome.
But if you were to ask me what, yeah,
No, I mean I'm not really gonna ask you which AD is specific to your airplane. You have your mechanic that's checking them, right? You've paid somebody to go through and verify. You get the letters from the FAA or the emails from the FAA just to verify that if something new pops up. Um, Depending on the year of this series, it might have like a Spar AD. I forget which year it is. Is it a brand new one or is it the used one from like '05? Is that which one this one is?
2015, so it's a
Oh,
generation five,
okay.
V5.
So it's past the Spar AD, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, we understand that. We understand that. Let's get into some privileges and limitations. So let's say, congratulations, you passed your private pilot. Actually, I lie. We need to talk about emergencies before we get into that. Um,
Okay.
let's say your engine catches fire during start. What's your course of action? What steps are you going to take?
If the engine, say that question again. Are we in flight? You
Nope.
said,
Engine catches
or
fire just during start. You're on the ground, engine dies, or engine catches fire.
we're gonna fuel selector off, mixture off, continue cranking, and throttle forward.
All right. Let's say the engine started now. What are you going to do next?
So it started, and I got the fuel cut off, fuel
Yep.
selector off, and the
Oh, sorry. I forgot. You pulled the fuel selector. Engine didn't start. Fire went out. Congratulations.
I'll have the
Um,
throttle forward. So if it was burning the last of the gas, hopefully you get some airflow through there to push it out.
awesome. Um, what about an engine failure at low altitude? Let's say you took off, hit 300 feet, engine went.
Um, well, you could pitch for a best glide. Um, if you got time, you want to turn the fuel. I mean, the main thing is getting it back on the ground, right? But same thing, if you could um, turn do the mixture cut off, fuel selector off, ignition switch off, and then I don't mean if you're 300 feet off the ground, you're not going to be able to go through and like do a mayday call or anything like that. So from there, it's flaps as required, set her down, get off the runway as quick as safely possible.
Now, what would be like the minimum altitude in which you could pull caps associated with an engine failure?
So they recommend 600, but it says throughout this whole book that it may be, they push that caps a lot. It may be your best alternative at any altitude.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm smarter than Cirrus, but if you see it, what happens is the nose, it goes nose down while those cords are ripping through. I imagine like if you ever wakeboard when you do a smack into the ground, I think that would be terrible. So I think I'd rather set it in a field at a couple hundred feet than try to pull the chute.
So the
But yeah,
reason
600 feet is the maximum demonstrated altitude.
Yeah, the minimum demonstrated altitude. The reason
Minimum,
Cirrus
yeah.
is so like caps, because very often it is your best option. Um, if your engine's dead, if your engine dies at 300 feet or 600, 500 feet or what have you, uh, the airplane's totaled, right? You're very likely gonna end. You're very likely gonna end up with some kind of obstruction in your way. Um, you've got you've got airbags in the seatbelt. If I lose it at 500 feet, boom, done.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Um, even though, again, the plane it comes down, nose down, it seems a little aggressive. I feel like that's going to be your better option than trying to put this fixed gear airplane in, a rough field. Because if that nose gear catches, what's going to happen? It's
Uh-oh.
going to flip up over on its dome. Okay. If it lands like this and then falls down, yeah, sure, this initial impact's probably going to hurt. You might need to go to the dentist because you now know what a G1000 tastes like. But it's a whole lot better than upside down, unable to get the door open. Okay. And I feel like that's really why they really push that caps at even as low as like 500 feet, because it's going to ensure that at the very least you can get out of the airplane. Being stuck in a crashed airplane because you can't get the doors open is, I feel like that might be worse than the engine failure. Now, as a pilot, you do have to give the passengers a little bit of a briefing associated with the caps in the event that, you become incapacitated and, well, the caps is their best option to get on the ground. Let's pretend that I'm the passenger. Give me a caps briefing.
All right. So if for any reason I become incapacitated during this flight, what we could do is first thing I do is hit this level button. That's going to fly us straight and level while you try to get me back going again. I would imagine if I'm flying with somebody, I would kind of teach them a little bit about the radios. But when you decide you're going to fly, like I would try to get you up, like you, well, pilot, so you just go land it. But if you could try to steer the airplane towards like a road, that would be best case scenario. But when you're ready to pull it, just pull the power and the mixture back and pull down with 45 pounds of pressure. It's going to feel like you're doing a pull up.
Awesome. I wouldn't, if it comes to just some, random Joe Blow passenger, I'm not going to tell him to go fly the airplane somewhere, because
Hold the parachute.
Is the whole reason a Cirrus has caps is because it can't recover from spins. That's kind of the whole reason for the caps. They put the rudders really itty bitty, and that's how they get these ridiculous like 200 and something knots out of them at flight level 250. So I'm not gonna tell a passenger, because they're gonna think GTA and be like, oh my god, and they're gonna crank it all the way over. Because I've done like Young Eagle flights, and I've flown a lot of like people that aren't really familiar with flying, and I made the mistake one time of just going like, oh yeah, sure, you go fly, and the kid immediately went like, he was aiming for 90 degrees of bank because he wanted to fly like a fighter jet, and I'm like, okay, no. So when you've got a passenger freaking out because their pilot's over there like dead, they're gonna be kind of aggressive on the controls. They might be freaking out.
Yeah, just hold the shoot.
Yep. Just, hey, level button, right? You see this blue level button? Press that, pull the power to idle, pull the mixture to idle, do a pull up on this red handle. All right. Make sure your seatbelt's fastened.
Yes. Yep.
Now, when that chute pops, how many G's might I experience when that thing actually pops? Oh, that's not in this. They removed it.
I'm gonna guess it's got to be probably 3 Gs.
Yeah, it's if I remember correctly from one of the older Cirrus POHs, they say it's about 3 Gs. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in it's in like the older Cirrus POHs.
So if you were cruising at 140 indicated airspeed and you pulled it, that would be, it would be a wild ride.
Yeah. Now this airplane does have a strange VNE limitation, right? What's VNE? What does VNE stand for? What does that mean?
Your never exceed speed.
Your never exceed speed. So this VNE, it changes, right? Based on altitude?
When you're above, is it 18,000, I believe?
17.5. But...
is it? Okay. Yes, it does change.
Okay. So what is VNE below 17.5?
205.
205. What is the lowest VNE at what altitude?
The what do you mean lowest
So
VNE? Like, are you talking about the lowest speed? So like, it's 175. I thought it was 18,000, but 17,500.
so it changes from, so it's 205 up to 17.5, and then from 17.5 up to 25, it changes linearly so that at 25,000 feet, it's now 175. You remember reading that?
Okay.
Let me see if I can.
Um,
I'll go find
yeah,
it real
okay.
quick.
So you're gonna be on limitations 2-4.
Yep, 2-4. So let's just pull it up real quick. So VNE up to 17.5 is 205. VNE at 250 is 175. You read that?
Yep.
Why is it changing?
So yeah, that's a great question. I mean, air is gonna be less dense, so you're technically gonna be going faster, but no, I wouldn't. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't
Okay,
understand why it would be different.
because it's an indicated airspeed, right?
Okay.
It's really because it's an
But
indicated airspeed. Sure, the calibrated airspeed also changes, and calibrated airspeed is indicated, corrected for installation errors, but it's because the air is thinner up there, right? So you're gonna have less. You're gonna have less. You're gonna have less air flowing over the aircraft, or less air flowing into the pitot tube. So it changes the VNE that you see. It's still probably going to be roughly 205 knots true airspeed, right? But it's changing what you see so that you don't exceed it,
okay,
right?
good to know.
Where's the other one? VO. No, that's fine. All right. We talked about alternator failures. We talked about engine fire. We talked about an engine failure. What are you going to do if it seems like your propeller just can't stay under its limited RPM?
We're gonna cut the power back, and then we're gonna land as soon as practical.
Land as soon as practical, right?
Manage the power, and
Now, what is kind of the difference between land as soon as practical and land as soon as possible? What are the differences in those? What do they mean to you?
soon as soon as possible means like we need to land this plane now. The engine's gone. Landed in Joe Blow's field. Pull the parachute. Um, as soon as practical means, I mean, you take in account like what's going on. We could take a look at the emergency and say, okay, there's a field that's 3,700 feet over here. That's a grass landing, but half an hour away, we could get a good runway. You kind of weigh out the options, and sometimes the better option might be going to the airport with a longer runway than setting it down on a grass runway. So it means you have some time. It's not
Now, the way I
at the
explain
moment.
it, land as soon as practical is like, hey, we're going to die. We need to get this airplane on the ground. Land as soon as practical is there is a reduction in safety margin that really means we need to land. Like our destination is no longer our destination.
Reduction in safety margin. I like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Um, Now let's get into some privileges and limitations. All right. Let's say pass your private pilot certificate. Yay. I think I have an applause button around here somewhere. Nope, that's an air horn. Let's say you get your private pilot certificate. What are you allowed to do now that you weren't allowed to do before?
I can fly with passengers. If I get 200 hours, I could be a salesman for an airplane. I can fly for charities.
Yeah, some pretty good ones, right? So your airplane, given that it's got that turbocharger, it can go up pretty damn high. Is there any altitude limitations associated with just being a private pilot?
Well, I couldn't go into class alpha until I get my IFR.
Awesome. Couldn't go into alpha until you get your
So
IFR. Um, so let's spin a little scenario, right? You're at the airport cleaning your airplane because you got fancy airplanes. You want to make sure it's nice and fancy, right? And somebody approaches you saying, "Hey, man, I got a tea time in Texas in like 4 hours. Um, if I get, let's say I'll include you in my tea time if you fly us down there. Is this legal?
no, because I'm getting compensated.
All right. What's the compensation?
The tea time that costs money.
Yeah.
Like he's giving me something with monetary value.
All right. Now let's say you and your buddies sitting around, you know, one night going, "Hey, I'm thinking about, you saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about flying down to, Arizona for a tea time. Um, y'all want to split the cost and come with?" And your buddy's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll split the cost." Is this legal?
It's within the pro rata share.
Yeah, as long
Uh-huh.
as it's within the pro rata share, right? The real reason is the fact that you came up with the idea as well, right? So if your buddy came up to you and said, "Hey, man, let's fly to Arizona and let's split the cost," right? Then all of a sudden it's no
So if
longer
my answer at that point was, I've been planning on doing that, let's go.
exactly. All right, and
I
I
got you.
know it feels a little like
We have,
splitting hairs.
yeah.
All right,
No, that's been a thing. Yeah, I've wanted, yeah.
yeah, it feels a little like splitting hairs. The reason it's like this is because there was a few effectively Uber apps for airplanes that popped up in like the mid 2010s, like 2014-ish era. And like, come on. We're not splitting cost,
Well, it's a thing. Yeah, I with a Cirrus, people know we can get anywhere in Montana in an hour. So like, even though I don't have my license, I've had people ask like, "Hey man, I need to get to Missoula. Could you take me?" And that was like a legitimate question in the beginning, and the answer is just like, "No,
No,
we
the
can't."
answer is no. Now, they're your buddies. They want to go flying and they're like, "Hey man, let's go flying." And you're like, "You know what? I was gonna go flying anyway. I just didn't have a destination in mind. And now since you came along, now we have a destination." I mean, nobody's gonna fault you for that, but it's
Uh,
what they just don't want to start happening is Uber, right? Because the idea behind Uber is,
Uber the best.
yeah. So awesome, awesome. We know what we can and can't do. Um, I'm happy with that. Let's get into your cross country plan. It's around here somewhere. As I said, 9,000
Yeah, I
tabs
sent to
open.
you because the first time I didn't use waypoints, and like he's not going to be able to type that into his thing. So the
Yeah, I found a couple of the airports that you used as references. So here I am in Sky Vector, right? The only thing that was kind of missing from what you sent me was an altitude.
so the altitude's at 10,500.
Okay.
Um, we've got some terrain. I probably wouldn't fly at 10,500 the whole way, but as we got closer to our destination, like after Riverton, be a
Which
good
one's
idea to climb
Riverton?
up.
RIW?
Um, yeah, Romeo India Whiskey.
Okay, so yeah, Central Wyoming Regional. Oh yeah, Riverton VOR.
Yeah,
All right. So talk
yes,
to me
sir.
about this. Why'd we choose 10,500 as our altitude?
I think we decided that we were flying west, so we needed to go even plus 500.
Okay. So we're generally flying west. I know it's kind of cutting back and forth um, either which way, unless you're just kind of going like straight line. Destination of oh wait, yeah. Destination of Golf Juliet Tango, correct? Or did I have that
That is
backwards?
correct. Yep, nope, you've got that. Yep.
All
Yep,
right.
that's the destination.
Okay. So we decided like, hey,
I haven't actually flown here before. Yeah. You said 2 hours and I kept typing stuff in Montana. I was like, looks like we're going out of Montana here.
well, and that's kind of why I do it, because like, if you're going to get your private pilot certificate, you see so many schools, like they're like, hey, this is the route you're going to fly on your cross country. This is the only route that you're going to fly. And then by the time they get their private pilot certificate, they're terrified because they've never gone anywhere other than where the school has kind of forced them to go. Right. So let's pick somewhere a little farther. Let's make a long plan. There's some students that they can't carry as much gas. When I say 2 hours, they're planning a fuel stop. Okay. So we're taking off out of 6 Sierra 8. All right. No real departure procedure. What airspace is this just to the northeast of your departure?
To the northeast, that would be class Charlie.
Yep. It's Class Charlie.
ABIL? Yep.
Yep. Yep. Class Charlie, the purple one or maroon one, whatever you want to call it. What equipment do you need to operate inside this airspace?
ADSB and transponder, two-way communication, a radio.
Okay, so when you say a transponder, there's a couple different types of transponder.
Altitude reporting transponder.
Okay, so if you were to try and type this into like aircraft spruce, would you type in altitude reporting transponder, or is there like a mode that we would need to look for?
Oh, mode C.
Mode C, awesome. All right.
Mode C. Mode C.
Now, what altitude? Looking at this outer shelf. What altitude does this airspace start at? And if you need to look
The
at,
outer shelf?
the outer shelf.
So the outer shelf is 4,900, which, by the way, I realized that my altitude reporting transponder says that we've tried to fly on underneath there before, and they've said that we were in their airspace. So I can think we're at 45 and we're at 49 GPS. Don't fact. And then the inner one's from the surface to 7,700.
Okay. Well, since we kind of brought that up, right? They are saying like, oh, you're in our airspace. What is the altitude transponder, the altitude encoder? What is it seeing? Like, what kind of altitude is it seeing, and what kind of altitude is it reporting?
It's reporting GPS altitude.
Is it?
The transponder, what they're looking at? Yeah, I was under the impression it was GPS.
Oh, it's got an altitude
But
encoder, so it's using pressure altitude,
okay.
right?
So is it using standard pressure? So on a hot day, we would be high. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Now, a couple different times you've kind of brought something up. You kind of said a little thing here and there.
I know,
that
take
kind
an
of leads
opportunity
into
to shut up.
There we go. There we go. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's like the third or fourth time you've just been like, oh, and this. I'm like, oh, please tell me more.
Yep, fair.
All right. So that's why they've said that you're in their airspace, because what they're seeing is your pressure altitudes based on temperature and pressure deviation and stuff like that. There's times I get into my airplane and my altitude, because I actually have a display on my transponder that shows me what altitude it is seeing. And, my field elevation is 700 feet, but it's showing me 400 because the pressure or the temperature is so far off. Okay. Now, cruising along.
Surprised they don't talk about that much more, because like you could be trying to avoid some like the outer shell of an airspace, and it could be off by like 400, and you're in the airspace according to them.
Yeah, and that's if I remember correctly, the G1000 will show you your pressure altitude somewhere. Whatever what the altitude encoder is seeing. Or you could set your altimeter to 2992, and then it's going to display the exact same thing that your altitude encoder is going to see, right? Because do you have standby?
Okay. Yep.
Do you have a standby altimeter?
Standby. Oh no.
Let's look up a picture real quick. G1000.
No, so are you talking about like an alternate source?
Not an alternate source. So here's a Cessna 172. Open image in new tab with the G1000 in it. So it's got the G1000 that you know and love, right? But right over here behind the other yoke, that's another altimeter in the event that your G1000 takes a
Okay.
crap on you.
Yes, I do have that. Yes, I do. Yep,
Set this one to 2992.
got it.
That is what your altitude encoder is seeing.
Got it.
Now,
Oh, that's brilliant. I like that. Okay.
all right. Now, of course, there's going to be some deviancies because of temperature, but for the most part, it's going to be close, so you're not kind of running that risk. Also, just what's the altitudes out here? Well, I guess what is this big blue number right here?
That would be the altitude of the tallest structure or mountain in that square plus 500.
Yeah, plus 500. I think it's because you're in mountainous area. Yeah, I think it's 300 in non-mountainous.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I mean, I guess like with it being 5,300 here, it might be a little tight for you to try and like drop down to 3,500 to make sure you give them more space. But also talk to them if you're really that concerned. Like every Charlie Airspace I've ever talked to they've been pretty understanding. Like, hey, I'm gonna shoot under your airspace at such and such altitude.
Yeah.
All right. Because that gives them the opportunity to like make sure that, because when you talk to them and you tell them, hey, I'm at 4,500 because I've set my altimeter setting and all this jazz, and then they look at your altitude encoder and it's showing 4,900, they're going to then apply a correction to it on their end.
Gotcha.
All right. Let's talk a little bit more about airspace. So we've got Whirland right here. What airspace is this on the ground?
Pulse
Okay.
to 1200 or 1199.
So I've got this little dashed purple right here. What does this dashed purple mean?
Oh, no, up to 700.
So you might be confusing the dashed purple for the shaded purple.
Okay, yeah, so the shaded purple was when class E goes down farther for approaches. The, the dotted line would mean that's class Echo, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got Echo dashed purple, Echo to the ground. Up to generally 17,999, unless there's like a Charlie shelf or something above it, right?
Yeah.
Now, outside the dashed purple, but inside the shaded purple, it's Golf to 7, Echo 17,999. Outside the shaded purple, Golf to 12, up to 17,999 for Echo.
Okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
All right. We've got another one right there. So let's take a look. I want to try and find another. So I've got two purple airports right here, right? I've got Hot Springs right here. It's purple. And then I've got Shoshone right here. And it's purple, but it's not filled in. Just by looking at the sectional, what's really the difference between these two airports?
One of them's gonna have like a paved surface, and the other one's gonna be other than a hard surface.
Okay, so which one's going to be paved?
The round circle towards the bottom is gonna be the other than hard surface,
Other
and the
than
other one's
hard
paved.
surface. Awesome. What is this little star next to this Central Wyoming airport?
Means they have lighting? Or
This
nope,
star
nope, means they have
specifically.
a beacon.
Okay. And that's where the beacon is in relation to the airfield.
Yep.
Right. So if we go up to hot springs, what does this star mean? Same thing. It means a beacon. It's just not showing you where it is in relation to the airport.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's just showing you it's somewhere on the field. This one's showing you it's right at the little kitty corner where the runways cross.
Okay, so if it's directly over the top, it just means they have one. If it's somewhere other than that, it means there's the actual location of it.
Yep. Um,
Yeah, didn't know that.
what is this blue circle showing you?
That's a VOR.
That's a VOR. Do you know what this little dot right here is?
Ooh. Don't.
That is where the VOR is,
Oh, okay.
right? So if you're using this as your source of navigation, it's showing you where you're going to cross over the VOR because it's showing you where it is.
Okay.
All right. How long's the longest runway at Central Wyoming?
Can you zoom into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Um, 8,200.
8,200. What's the field elevation?
5,516.
Okay. What's this little star next to the L mean?
That means lighting. So lighting.
It means there's something in the chart supplement about lighting. All
Okay.
right. 99.8% of the time, it is pilot controlled lighting.
Okay.
Right. The only other
What's
time,
with the other percent?
the other point two, I've seen it say helicopter pilot controlled lighting is on a different frequency.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's not always just pilot controlled lighting. A lot of people are like, oh, it's pilot controlled lighting. Well, most of the time, yeah. Imagine being in a helicopter like, shit, why won't this thing turn on?
Yeah. Okay.
What is this little purple line?
Magnetic variation.
Okay. What does that mean to you? Like, why is this even charted?
Well, if we were planning a cross country and we didn't have the G1000s, we'd have to account for winds and magnetic variation. Get true course.
Okay. You might be confusing deviation and variation.
Deviation.
What's deviation?
So that's how far off the magnetic compass is going to be,
Yeah.
correct?
Right. That's why we have these little compass cards, right?
That's the deviation. So that's from like the um, controls and computers inside of the computer. So, okay. So that's the deviation.
Mm-hmm.
Variation is the one that's on the map.
Yep. Variation's the one that's on the map. And even with the G1000, you still need to care about it. Right. The reason we're not thinking about it is because we did our nav log with ForeFlight. Right. And I know, like, let's be honest, everybody's got ForeFlight. I got ForeFlight on my phone. I got ForeFlight on my iPad. I got ForeFlight on my other iPad. Right. I'm going to have ForeFlight. I say still do a little bit of practice with some paper nav logs in the event that you want to go somewhere far and you don't want to get stuck because your iPad died or it broke or whatnot. It'd be real awkward for you to be an 8-hour flight from home and then you got to run to Best Buy to buy another iPad because you dropped yours. Right. So still be comfortable with using a paper nav log. Remember, variation, I'm still going to use whether I'm using a paper nav log or a G1000 or a 6-pack, right? Because the planet doesn't line up, the planet's magnetic poles don't line up with the straight lines that we've drawn on the planet, right? And that's what variation is. So this one's showing 9.5 degrees east. The little mnemonic I use to remember it is east is least. So when I get my course that I want to fly, I'm going to subtract 9.5 degrees if I'm close to this isogonic line. That's what it's called, is an isogonic line, to give me my true heading. Or to give me my magnetic course, sorry. And then I'm going to apply my wind correction to get my true heading. Does that make sense now?
Yep.
Now, since you're in a G1000, you don't have to worry about deviation.
Aviation.
Yep. Because the magnetometer is out in the wing and it's not impacted by the magnetic fields of what's going on inside the airplane. Now, let's go look at some other stuff. What is this purple dashed airspace right here?
It's an MOA.
Yep, it's a military operation area, an MOA. Is there any restrictions associated with these?
If it's, you can think you can still fly through it. You'd want to know whether it's hot or not, which would be a NOTAM, or you could get a hold of ATC and ask them.
Okay, so where would I find this frequency? Who would I talk to? I know this one's kind of obvious because it's fucking right there.
Denver. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But let's go look at this one. The two buttes, the two buttes MOA. It's not two butts. Is there any frequency on this one?
Okay, so I'm not saying anything that you could, I believe you could call the nearest RTC or flight services and ask them what frequency to communicate with.
Or what I could do is I could go, no, not that one. That one's World IFR, Wichita. That one's what I'm looking for. Sure. On ForeFlight, you could tap the airspace and it'll show you, right?
Right. Or you're going to go to the legends. Okay.
Yep. But if you're on a sectional, which MOA was it again? The two buttes. We're going to go find the two buttes MOA. Where'd it go? Two buttes high, two buttes low. We can see it's active Tuesday through Saturday. I can contact Denver on 12837.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of
And if it's hot, you can't go through it, right? Or
No,
is that exercise extreme caution?
Yeah, it just says exercise extreme caution. That's the only real restriction is, hey, there might be stuff going on in there that you don't really want to be a part of. Okay. Now, come on. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that there's going to be live rounds shooting off in these military operation areas. If you see a restricted area within a military operation area, this is generally where the live rounds are going to be. And given the shape of this MOA, it very much looks like a range to me. Because you've got the points where people drive up to, you even see a road. So there's probably a military range right there. All right. So the rounds are going to be shooting that way. And that's just my assessment based on, experience in the military and flying and whatnot. But if you see a restricted area inside of an MOA, then that's probably where the live rounds are going to be. And I wouldn't want to be on this side of it, if I'm going to be honest. But there's no limitation of operating inside of an MOA. Now, if ATC tells you to stay clear of it, obviously stay clear of it. All right, let's go and look. I'm just going to go to places I recognize. So that it's, what are these little blue dots and the circle around all these islands?
Around the islands.
Or, I mean, there's even another one right here along the lakeshore.
Sometimes water?
It's not sometimes water. So it's got the blue border around it with blue dots in it. Let's see if we can find another one, maybe make it a little bit more obvious about what they are. Those are more islands. God, where are all of them? I know where another one's going to be. We got another one right here. So, I mean, we're in the middle of Arizona right now, so I'm pretty sure this isn't sometimes water.
Yep. Okay. So wildlife area?
They're a wildlife area. Is there any restrictions associated with those?
They recommend you go 2,000 feet over.
Yep, 2,000 feet AGL above them. Because if you piss off the birds or the eagles, or that one's the hummingbird wildlife or hummingbird migratory path. So, you know, they just flew 26 hours just to land there. So maybe don't piss them off. All right. Now, what is this one right here? The purple dots.
That's the border.
Is it the border?
Don't fly in there unless you have clearance. Is it?
Because if I come up here to like North Dakota or even the border with Montana, do we see those purple dots?
Okay. Yep. So yeah, that is not the border. Go back then.
It's on the border, right? But it's identified as something other than just the border.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Have you ever heard of an ADIZ, an Air Defense Interdiction or Identification Zone?
No.
Okay, so well, that's what it is.
There it
It's
is.
called an ADIZ, Air Defense or Interdiction Identification Zone. If you do need a clearance to cross it, yes, very much so. It's a little different than just like a VFR flight plan. If you file an IFR flight plan, it's really just follow your IFR flight plan. If you do a VFR flight plan, you need to do a D or a defense VFR flight plan, and they're going to give you a window in which you are allowed to cross this. If you are not going to make that window, it's just like any other clearance that you get. If you cannot meet that clearance, you need a you need to get an amended clearance.
So it is the border.
So it's not just
Is it
that
the
it
border going
is
into
the border.
It's the border and.
Yeah, it's the Air Defense Interdiction Zone. Pretty much, if you cross this without getting an appropriate clearance, you will be interdicted. Okay, the reason
Wouldn't that be the same thing in the border up into Canada?
no, because Canada, well, up until recently, has had it has a little bit of an agreement with the United States where you can sign up for a certain you pretty much sign up your tail number through a certain website. AOPA has a class on this whole thing, and really all you have to do is overfly a specific airport. This isn't one of them. I'm trying to find one of them. You pretty much just have to overfly the top of a specific airport as you fly into Canada, and you're good to go.
Okay.
Right?
So once you're approved, you can just follow the procedures. The other one, you have to approve it within a certain time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you're
Good to know.
approved to just kind of cross this border, since there's no ADIZ, I don't need a DVFR flight plan. But since there is an ADIZ down here, I will always need to file that flight plan, and I will always need to get a clearance to cross it.
Okay.
All right. Because like, what's the worst I'm doing up here? Smuggling in maple syrup.
Yeah.
All right. Now, again, if you want to cross the border, you know, since you do have a serious like crossing borders and going long distances, you know, it's a pretty reasonable task, right? You know, there's people that fly their airplanes down here all the time because I guess there's golfing and all kinds of other beaches and stuff like that you know the bros can go to and party for the weekend.
Yep.
Just take the international course through AOPA.
Okay.
Right? You know what I mean by AOPA, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now let's talk a little bit about weather. Let's go back to your flight plan and say we took off. It started to rain a little bit. Are we going to turn around if it starts to rain?
Now we're going to be cautious and watching.
All right. So it starts to rain, and we notice the temperature keeps ticking down, right? So it's a cold rain, cold fronts moving through, but visibility's still good, so we're pushing on, right? But we're up at 10,500, and we look over at our outside air temperature, and it's showing like 4 degrees. It's a chilly day out there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Is this air? Are we
Well,
safe
now we
right
have to
now?
start worrying about. We got to start worrying about icing, and I want to say we can see icing all the way down to 3 degrees Celsius.
Okay. Is your aircraft certified for flight into known icing?
It is, but I'm not going to fly into known icing right now.
No, probably not a good idea. But your aircraft's certified for it, right? So it's
Yes.
now your airplane. Is it a heated wing? Is it like spraying fluid? What's it doing so that it can get that ice off of the airplane?
It's, well, you just nailed on something right there. It's TKS fluid. So once you already have the ice, you could be in trouble. You have to have a coat of the TKS already over it going into the icing.
Okay. Is there a what are the limitations on that? Like, is there a time limit? Is there
Yeah, so you have 2 hours, and that's at normal. But then if you go high, it cuts in half to an hour. And then if you go the boost pump, which is also the same as turning the high and the regular on at the same time, it cuts in half again, and you're at half an hour. That's if you were full.
okay? So we've worst case scenario, we've got a half hour of TKS fluid at full.
Using both pumps, going crazy. Yep.
Awesome. Um, does it cover your window?
Yes, it does, but you have to press a separate pump for that, and it covers the left seat side.
Awesome. All right. Um, it's a real fancy system. Too fancy for my blood. Uh,
You making fun of Cirrus pilots again?
no. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I could afford it, I'd have a Cirrus, but I don't have that kind of money. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. I do like
How
having a
about I come
seaplane.
pick you up next year, and then you fly me into Oshkosh because that's been on my bucket list.
It is. It's a
You
joy.
do.
And then a Cirrus that would be a. To be honest, that would be cake. Because it's super simple. It's just a matter of traffic. Um, I'm assuming you saw the videos of this Oshkosh where,
I did. Yeah.
yeah, 4301
Yep.
Romeo. Is that what it was?
Oh, are you talking about the guy that got all confused coming in
Yep. And then he took
and,
off from
and
the
came in
taxiway.
anyways? Dude, yeah. Yeah.
That's the only
I
real.
watched enough to know that I'm not there. Yeah, I'm not qualified to land in that busy airspace yet.
No, it's definitely a lot. I know the first time I went and did it, I didn't have ADS-B in, and I didn't have ADS-B in the airplane, and then I went and looked at my flight path after I'd already landed and realized that I was in a conga line of like 40 airplanes, and I was like, I thought it was just me and the guy in front of me.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, Now I go to the seaplane base. It's not. I don't. What's the point? What's the
I
point
saw
of
your
going there?
little YouTube short on that. That was cool. Yeah, that was really cool.
Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching it. It was fun. I went and picked up Dirtbag Pilot, and yeah, it was a good time.
That was really cool.
So we understand that the airplane can fly into icing conditions. We understand when we can experience icing conditions. Let's go. What website do you think would be a really good website for me to go to try and check weather?
We could go to the 1-800 weather or aviationweather.gov.
Yep, 1-800
We can
WX
also we
brief.
can use,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say ForeFlight also has access to all those
Yep.
as well.
ForeFlight is, I mean, let's be honest, that's what most people use. Let's go take a look at some weather sources. Real simple right off the bat. Let's just go look at a METAR and a TAF. That's too simple. Let's make it a little bit more complicated. Let's make it more complicated. Well, there ain't nothing going on.
I have you at like a little tiny screen. I wonder if I can blow this up a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, just click
There
me.
it is. That's better.
Yep.
Yeah, got it. That's better.
All right. So if you want to pull it up on your end, I am looking at the METAR and TAF for Atlanta.
Okay, no, I can see this better now.
Okay. Now, based on the current observation, Would you go fly right now?
Um, let's see. We're broken at 20,000. Let's see. Where's visibility? 9 statute miles. Yeah, I go flying in that.
All right. Is there anything else going on?
See, I didn't look at the wind. We got the wind's pretty calm. 270 at 4 knots. 9 statute miles visibility. There's some rain. U38 Tango. I don't know what that one means. U at 3,800.
Yep. So we got few at 3,800.
Oh, and then, okay, yeah. Well, let's go down to the lightning.
There we go.
Is that what that is? Lightning?
Yep. The
Yeah.
lightning.
So we're not going fly.
All right. All right. So we got lightning. That I even had to look that one up. It's lightning in clouds. So cloud to cloud lightning, and then cloud to ground lightning as well. Distant southeast, southwest, cumulonimbus distant southeast, southwest, moving southeast, towering cumulus. That's what this is.
Okay. Yeah, we're staying out of there.
Yeah, we're staying
No,
on the
thank
ground.
you.
Okay. Does the weather get better based on the METAR, or correction, the TAF?
Let's see here. So on the first at 1949 Zulu, I'm not seeing anything like concerning.
Okay, so the first at 1949 Zulu, but also what we observed at 1952 Zulu would definitely disagree, right?
True.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're probably in this section right now. Would you agree?
Okay. Yeah.
So what does this one mean? What does this one that I've highlighted mean?
Thunderstorms, rain broken at 400.
Okay,
4 statute miles visibility.
so we understand this one. I'm more interested. What does this mean?
Tempo. I don't know.
All right, temporarily between the first at 2000 Zulu to the first at 2300 Zulu.
Okay.
All right. So based on the fact that we're observing some pretty crappy weather right now, it's a little before 20 Zulu, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So would you think that maybe the weather might get a little better in a couple hours? Maybe. It's kind of pushing it. So we're saying from the second day at 0200 Zulu, weather's supposed to be better.
Looking at 12,000, 6 statute mile visibility. So
You saw how
that's a little better.
Yeah, you saw how I kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
So we're currently observing at 1952 Zulu on the first day some crap weather.
Yep.
All right. If we look at our TAF, we can see from the first day at 2000 Zulu to the first day at 2300 Zulu, it's supposed to be crap weather. But if we look just a little bit later on the second day at 0200 Zulu, so, 3 hours later, the weather's supposed to clear up.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. And I know what you've most likely been looking at is something that looks like this.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
But I should probably stop that and tell my Checkride, huh?
Well, I'm not necessarily saying stop that, right? It's just, I hate to use the term over-reliance on ForeFlight because ForeFlight, it's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
Right? But the last thing you want to do is get stuck somewhere away from home just because you don't have access to ForeFlight. Right? And some people will be like, well, that exceeds my personal limitations. The ACS asks on whether or not you can read and interpret approved weather sources. Right? It doesn't limit, do you know how to read and interpret ForeFlight?
My examiner could be asking that same stuff that you asked me about.
Exactly. Um, and from what I've seen, a lot of people do. Like, they want to make sure that you can actually read an actual METAR and TAF at the very least. So we're looking at a prog chart. Before we dig into anything that we're seeing on this chart, why would you even bother pulling one of these up?
Help give us an idea what's going to happen in the future.
Awesome, awesome. So we're looking at, let's just look at the Midwest right now. We see a bunch of blue H's. What do these blue H's mean?
High pressure.
High pressure. What weather we normally associate with high pressure?
I took the opportunity to shut up there. So high pressure usually comes with stable air.
Yep, stable air. So when we have stable air,
Stable air.
are we going to have
Yep.
better or worse visibility?
Stable air can be worse visibility.
Yeah, and we can even see that right here with all that smoke.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what we're looking at right there. Now what are these gray lines that kind of run over this entire map?
Those are the troughs.
No, the trough is going to be this brown line.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about the isobars,
Yep, the isobars. What are
lines of
isobars?
equal pressure.
Lines of equal pressure. I love it.
Lines of
Let's go and take a look. This is a winds and temps chart. Have you ever seen these?
mhm.
All right. So let's look at this one right here. What would be the wind direction, velocity, and temperature?
Winds at 0.76 to 8 knots. So 70.
Okay. So wind direction, 070. Wind
Yep.
velocity
0. Yes.
at 6 knots. Temperature at 8 degrees.
Or temperature 8 degrees.
What is this one?
Positive. Okay. Yep. So that would be the nine's throwing me off. I know if it's a 7, or I know we got to take it down 5, and then the winds would be 100 at -8. But the 9 throwing me off.
That's why I asked. It's light and variable.
Light and variable.
Yep.
Okay.
9900. It's light and variable.
Okay.
Right.
Good to know. I didn't even know that.
All right. Where else? Let's talk about thunderstorms. What are the 3 big things I need for a thunderstorm to occur?
Updraft, unstable air, and precipitation.
So updraft or a
Of course.
lifting force, right?
Yep.
Some kind of lifting force. Doesn't necessarily have to be,
Yep.
right? Unstable lapse rate or unstable air. And then you said precipitation. It's not necessarily precipitation, it's moisture, right? It will result in precipitation, but I don't need it to be raining right now for it to eventually turn into a thunderstorm.
So not even visible moisture, just moisture.
Yep. So, because think of it, thunderstorms happen over Arizona all the time. That moisture is coming from California, or sometimes Lake Havasu, depending on, because it's right there, right? Now, what are the 3 stages of a thunderstorm?
You have cumulus, mature, and dissipating.
All right. How do we identify the mature stage of a thunderstorm? How do you know a thunderstorm has matured?
You see rain squeezing them.
Yep. When you see rain falling out of it. Weather, I'd definitely say go and dig into the usual weather. Go dig through aviationweather.gov. Right. Is really just my recommendation. Right. Get a weather briefing through ForeFlight like you do normally, and then try and just go find all the information in that weather briefing on aviationweather.gov. Right.
Yeah.
Now, last bit, just some aeronautical decision making, some aeromedical stuff. I'm not going to ask about, your medical or anything like that. But if you've got a third class medical, how long is that thing good for?
Well, I'm above 40, so it's 2 years.
So it's 2 years. Now, with the current change, because Mosaic came out, right? Did you hear about that? Okay, so Mosaic,
No.
What does Mosaic stand for? I think it's modernization of something or another. Dig into Mosaic, because Mosaic really just, it expands the sport pilot privileges, really allowing you to, what's the stall speed of your airplane again? Clean?
Oh, shoot. It's 76.
So your airplane wouldn't fall under it. Never mind. We're not going to talk about Mosaic then. You got a third class medical. You know how long it's good for. What are you evaluating? How are you evaluating yourself before every flight to ensure that you are safe to fly?
I can go through the I'm safe checklist. So illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, emotions.
Okay. Now, when it comes to alcohol, what's the limit?
Bottle to throttle is 8 hours and 0.04.
Okay. Well, let's say, you get your private pilot certificate, you and your buddies, you get a pretty early tea time and you just kind of, you rock it all day and you wake up next morning. Sure, it's been 10 hours since your last drink, but you're, in your age, you can't drink like you used to without feeling it the next day. But for some reason, you've got an at-home breathalyzer, you're blowing zeros and it's been 10 hours since your last drink, but you just ain't feel like you're a little hungover. Are you legal to fly?
I can tell by the way you asked that question, probably not. I wouldn't fly, but I think you would be. You're lower than the 0.04 and it's been 8 hours.
So it's no longer
That doesn't mean it's a good decision.
the way the FAA words it, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, obviously, is no longer under the influence of alcohol. 0.04
Okay.
and 8 hours. Everyone forgets
So
that.
being hung over would be.
Yep. Because remember, alcohol, it really just borrows happiness from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then gives you a hangover, right? So that's, the hangover is still the influence of alcohol. It's just not the good influences.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I'm good there. I don't even drink anymore. So.
Oh, all right. Fair.
Yeah.
No problems there then. Now, when it comes to medication, a lot of people think like, oh, well, if it doesn't make me sleepy, I can fly, right? Can you, let's say, take NyQuil, or correction, let me rephrase that, Dayquil, the daytime sneezing, sniffling, coughing medication?
No, you cannot.
No, you cannot. Do you have any kind of reference or any kind of source you might look to just to verify?
Yeah, we could go to the FAA's website and they have a list of everything on there.
Yes, I mean, their list is, it's okay. What I recommend to students is, have you ever heard of AMAS?
No, I have not.
AMAS. It's a whole company.
Okay.
Their entire thing is let's keep pilots flying by ensuring they don't screw up with medication. Okay.
Okay.
I can come in here and I can type in, and again, no sponsor or anything. I just found this. Okay.
Yeah.
I can come in here and type whatever medication I can think of, right? So Dayquil, the common generics, Destro, blah, blah, blah. Common cold, not allowed. Requires 48 hours from last
48
dose.
hours.
Okay.
Okay.
Some other ones, Midol. That's a pain medication, right? That's just, I got a headache. 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
I've been
use this.
Benadryl.
Oh, Benadryl, isn't Benadryl like,
I think it's 72 hours or something crazy.
I might have typed that wrong. How do you spell Benadryl? Oh, it's right
You
there.
don't ask me.
60 hours.
60 hours. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. So I always say go straight to this. If you've got any questions, like let's say you go to the doctor and the doctor wants to prescribe you some topical ointment for, I don't know, eczema or something, right? I've come into here
Yep.
and typed in, because I've had students that are like, hey, can I keep using this and fly and solo and blah blah blah. And so we come here and we type in, their cream, whatever it happens to be. We'll look at this one. Oh look, it's allowed, right? It's fixes vitiligo. But I've had students that have steroid cream to help with inflammation. 72-hour wait period from last dose.
No kidding. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good. I like that. I've never heard of that site.
Now, I mean, they do have like a little disclaimer pretty much saying like, hey, this is not a comprehensive list of approved medications, but like this is like their evaluation. And if you're concerned, call your AME. Right. Awesome. So really at the end of the day, what I would say is you're at about, I'd say probably about 75% of the way there, right? I would dig a little bit more into your POH seemed fine. You do seem to understand your airplane. It seems like maybe it's been a little while since you read the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, because when I was digging stuff straight out of that book, it seemed like you had like read it at one point in time, but maybe it was last year. Right.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
So I would definitely crack that book open again before you go in for your check ride. And what was the one other thing? I know we talked about it for a while. Your privileges and limitations were solid. Reading a chart was a little weak because again, we all use ForeFlight. So if we ever have any questions, we just kind of tap the chart and it answers our questions for us, right? But I would definitely go through the key of a chart again and make sure you understand all the symbology on the chart. I would go and do a paper navlog. I don't know if you've done one in years or have ever done one.
I've done this. Actually, my instructor has me do them every now and then. He's pretty big on them. So
okay, so I would go and do one, and just plan a fun trip, right? You ain't necessarily got to do it, right? You've got an airplane that's capable of flying to dang near anywhere in the United States. I mean, I can't even think of anywhere that the Cirrus can't make it into, except for a couple really rough dirt runways. But plan a fun trip, but do it paper, right? Look at the chart, find the isogonic lines, apply the variation, stuff like that. Use the whiz wheel as opposed to just relying on ForeFlight, right?
ForeFlight about the E6B.
Yeah, whip out the E6B.
Yeah. The whiz wheel.
Okay. Yeah, the whiz wheel. I still have one. I have popped it out like periodically as like an airline pilot instead of like trying to find a stupid, because sure, we have an FMS, right? And it does all the math for us. But instead of trying to navigate and find that menu in the FMS, I'm just like, I know how to do this on a freaking E6B. Let me just do it on my E6B. Okay. Which seems a little ridiculous, but like if it's the easiest way to get to the information, it's the easiest way to get to the information. But you also very likely could be tested on whether or not you know how to use it. Okay. Yeah. So I would dig through that. Weather sources, again, it really just seems like a lot of ForeFlight usage, and not going back to the original source, right? I feel like you'd probably do fine, be a safe pilot. But we're at the point of like, hey, we're a safe pilot as long as I have ForeFlight, as long as I have my digital nav log, as long as I have, all these extra tools in my flight bag. But, at the end of the day, I give you a private pilot certificate. There's nothing stopping you from hopping in an Aeronca Champ and flying it across the country. An Aeronca Champ doesn't have a USB port for you to charge your iPad. It doesn't have air conditioning. Half of them don't even have doors. And that's kind of why that's kind of why we dig into this stuff, right? You might be sitting here going, I'm in a goddamn Cirrus with air conditioning. My iPad's always going to be charged. Why are we digging into this shit? Well, it's because your certificate isn't an SR22 Turbo certificate. Does that make sense?
So I think your recommendation was like go through the weather briefing on ForeFlight, but then go back to like aviationweather.com.gov and go through it on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what I would say is there's a bunch of cool airports, a bunch of cool places. Build a navlog. There's an airport up near me in Illinois, that it's an apple orchard, but they sell their cider in cans and they let you camp on the field. So build a navlog to go to that apple orchard, spend the night hanging out with some buddies, build the flight plan to then fly to Triple Tree for their fly-in, because it's like it's the only air show fly-in kind of thing where it's only pilots or aviators. That's another cool thing. And then, another leg onto Sun and Fun, right? Okay.
Yep.
But hand jam it, as in like paper navlog, E6B, just so that you're comfortable with those tools.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've got a bunch of those here, so I can do that. But
Awesome.
you sound like my instructor right now.
Well, we're all trained to the same standards and we're all taught to teach the same
Yeah, no,
stuff.
what you said makes sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I can go hop in any other airplane. So it would make sense that they want to make sure I'm proficient in that. So
exactly.
yeah, I'm listening.
Now, I mean, obviously, if you got access to an SR22 Turbo, what the hell are you going to do in a Champ? Like, come on.
I do want to fly in a Cub someday. Everybody keeps talking about that. So
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Cubs are fine. I've flown in a 185, which is like a really souped up Cub, um, with side by side seating instead of tandem seating. Um, yeah, tail dragger stuff. It's fun. I prefer seaplane stuff, but all right. You got any
right.
other questions or anything?
No, this is a huge help, man. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna take your advice and run with it. And yeah,
Yeah. So,
thank you very much.
I remember getting an email, where you might have had a little bit of a trouble with Discord, just because you've never used it, not used to it, something like that. So I will just give you a quick rundown on Discord, because like we did the mock check ride doesn't necessarily mean instruction is over. It doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, never going to talk to you again, never going to see you again, kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of people in here. So currently there's what is it? There's currently 120 people online. 193 of them are pilots, 289 of them are student pilots, and 11 of them are flight instructors. So if you've got questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Like this guy, Pat, he does mock check rides with me as well on this channel to, kind of deal with the backlog. So you got questions and he answers, he's a CFI. The red ones, those are students. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If they kind of like try to give you advice, remember they're students. So, recognize that, right? But the blue ones, they're they're pilots, right? Just the regular old blue ones. And CFIs, I think they're a darker blue. Either way, if you're curious about who they are and whether or not you should take their advice, you can click on their name and it shows you what they are. They're student verified, just like you. Here, pilot, student verified. Makes sense. We've got a whole aviation section right here. So just aviation general, content sharing. So, you want to show us where you're flying to, Oshkosh, Sun and Fun, stuff like that. Pilot training, if you've got any kind of questions, don't hesitate to come in here and ask. And I mean, I've got, I even come in here and answer questions periodically. Flight training questions. If you've got something that's like a longer, like, hey, we need to have a whole conversation about it, make a thread. Okay. Aviation news, you see something cool, bring it. Right. Check ride gouge, though. This is a bunch of other people that have taken check rides and have come back and told us what happened on their check ride.
Okay.
All right. So when you go and take your check ride, come back and tell us about it so that we have more and more and more of these so that more and more people can learn and prep. But also, if you've got questions, come here and read. I mean, there's a lot. All right. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
And then we got some games and stuff. I'm too busy to play games, so these channels are usually dead. But if you want to sit and talk with somebody, there's also voice chat down here as well.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, man. Good luck on your check ride. Come back if you got any questions. Don't hesitate to ask. All right.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you. Your videos have been awesome. I remember the first video I watched, there was a DPE that got on there and said, this is a bunch of baloney. You're leading them to the questions. And I was like, that's exactly what a student pilot needs.
Yeah, and
So,
that's
like, they've been awesome.
kind of like, sure, are these mock check rides? No. We're asking check rides in kind of or we're asking questions in kind of a check ride sense. But if there's a gap, I'm not just gonna go, you're wrong.
Yeah. I've watched some actual mock ones, and you never even know if their answer was right. So you could sit there and they could answer it, and the DP says, "Yeah, okay," and then I'm sitting here thinking that's the correct answer when it wasn't. So no,
Yeah.
I really like the format. Your videos are awesome,
Well, I
and yeah,
really
you've
do
been an awesome
appreciate
help.
it, man. Well, don't be a stranger. Reach out. If you happen to go into any fly-ins, I try to run around and meet people. I hand out stickers and shit. So,
All right, I'll hit you up for a sticker.
all right, sounds good, man. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, okay, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yep.